So this is Jimmy Shambo, and this hat I'm wearing was given to me by Jimmy Shambo. Jimmy Shambo was the first person to look at my photography and call it art. And in the moment, I couldn't digest that. I was still dealing with my own depression and just lack of self-confidence. But he put this hat on my head that night, which actually happened to be Halloween, which was also his birthday. And when I tried to give it back to him, he said, "No, it looks too good on you." So this hat has really become a symbol of, you know, that relationship and the confidence that he gave to me. Because on the way home that night, I thought to myself, well, Jimmy's an artist and I respect him, so who am I to tell him that he's wrong? So this hat was actually displayed in the lobby of the Empire State Building for people from all over the world to see. And the question, see, I am Mr. Answer Quest tonight. So the question we ask is, does the name Nikola Tesla light any bulbs? Yes. So Nikola Tesla was actually the originator of alternating current, robotics, remote control, radar, radio, television, x-rays, fluorescent neon light, the list goes on and on. A lot of people don't know that because he was almost written out of our history by people that he had given the ability to sell power to. And when he came to them with his true quest of free energy, they didn't want to hear any of that. So he died broke, so the story goes, and would have been homeless if Westinghouse hadn't paid his room and board at the Hotel New York until he passed. I've been called a magic photographer, so I thought I'd wear the hat and my magic wand. So we're going to ask for a volunteer, and we're going to try something interesting here. Who wants to hold my magic wand? So we're going to use our imagination together, and we can see if we're going to light that light bulb. So what I want you to do is just wave it like slowly over my hat and see if you can get it to light.
Wow.
Is it working? So there you go. You have an imagination. Thank you. Of course the answer is the name Nikola Tesla. That's every bulb on the planet. So this was actually a little collage that was in a window in the exhibit. And you see Nikola Tesla's picture here. And there's a hat sitting on top of him. This was actually under the hat that was on the easel. And you see the rainbow going into his head there? This is what was in the hat. It was a fortune that I had actually got 3 times before the exhibit. Which the rainbow picture is this picture. With my philosophy, it illustrates it very well. Landing right on that pyramid. Does anybody maybe know where that is?
I do.
She does. You want to tell him?
Prince is his house.
His recording studio.
His recording studio.
Paisley
Yeah.
Park Studio.
Paisley Park.
Believe it or not. Prince went by a symbol for 7 years to free himself from the limits of his record contract. And when he took his name back, he had a week-long celebration to commemorate, and they themed each night after one of his albums. This was Purple Rain Night. So what's interesting is it kind of actually like makes the legend of the treasure at the end of the rainbow a reality if you think about all the unreleased music that he left in that vault. And literally, the day he passed, a rainbow appeared over Paisley Park again. So this picture is strategically cropped because I kept it exclusive for him. I felt it was a spiritual gift for him, except he had a framed print hanging in his accounting office at Paisley Park. So I think there's something more to that yet to unfold in what may happen with the unreleased music that nobody really knows what to do with yet. But I think that the best way to honor Prince's legacy is to use that treasure for good. He was a big philanthropist, more than most people know, help people get solar and never really paid for it and things like that. So he has a song which talks about a chariot of red and gold. We actually started the love train on that chariot of red and gold, right here in Canton, right here on these tracks, where that blue jay posed right behind Merging Hearts. What we were trying to do, one of the things, was to connect the tracks between Canton and Cleveland, between the Football Hall of Fame and the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But now, we have a bigger challenge because now we don't even have service to Canton. We have an abandoned train station here in Canton. But the vision is still alive, and we still, hope to put this back on track for everything that it's meant to be, especially in this time of such division that we hear, in the news. My response was that we need to put the love train back on track for everything it's meant to be, because we have to make love popular. Because I was actually following Ringling Brothers around for the last 3 months of their existence, because I felt that there was a way that they could have repurposed their tours, and ultimately that's what we hope to do anyway, with or without them, to put that tour back on track. But instead of having the animals, a huge logistical weight we don't have to carry, what else can we put on that train? Habitat for Humanity, artists who engage communities in painting collaborative murals, gardeners, helping people with urban gardens. So when we pull into a city, we're literally helping that city transform and then celebrating with entertainment. Anybody ever seen the movie Little Engine That Could? We are delivering dreams. The trains lived in the dream world, and they were trying to bring the dreams into the real world, and that's kind of literally what we were doing with the love train. So what's interesting is, if you get this image in your mind, just kind of remember that image, the little engine and the other characters in the clouds, and then look at this picture that I took in Cippo Park, and what do you see above the trees? You see it? Amazing, isn't it? So I found this scripture. I had to wonder if, there's not more to that, that maybe, there is a way that God communicates with us through the clouds, or that even the clouds may even reflect our own thoughts.
The sky is meant to be a message board from God.
There you go. Thank you for that. Yeah, that's what I believe, and this is only one example that I'm showing you tonight, but that's remarkable to me. And the fishing pier kind of resembles track season. It is a very real thing to me, so you remember the Little Engine That Could, the tunnel collapsed and they had to find another way to get the dreams to. And that's basically where we're at. Documentary there, and I think it illustrates this quote very well. We have the opportunity to build a rainbow bridge into the golden age, but to do this we must do it together with all the colors of the rainbow, with all the peoples, all the beings of the world. We who are alive on earth today are the rainbow warriors who face the challenge of building this bridge. There's truth to the prophecies of the rainbow. They're in the rainbow people. People from all the Americas will unite with people from all the other nations, and they will realize that we are all family. Brothers and sisters, this is not my personal vision, but the cosmic vision presented by the elders, a vision that we all share. As Native Americans, we believe the rainbow is a sign from the Spirit in all things. It is a sign of the union of all people, like one big family. The unity of all humanity, many tribes and peoples, is essential. So what's really interesting about this picture in relation to those quotes is this picture was taken in Nemisilla Park. While I was watering a garden planted by kids from Northern Ireland in the shape of an infinity symbol to represent infinite peace. And this is Nemisilla Park, where the OJs actually held their family reunions. And if you hear that song, it's not just about our family, but a universal family. This is the vision we have for Nemisilla Park. Nemisilla Park is the oldest park in Canton. It literally was the heart of Canton's growth. The railroad was the catalyst to the growth of Canton around that park. The word Nemisilla is derived from Native American. It means meeting tree. I want to bring a Native American element back there. Ultimately, the vision is to have cultural gardens that represent all nations, that this literally becomes like the heart of the world.
You're saying you want this part to be this spot in Canton to be the heart of the world? That's crazy, because when I went through my awakening, they call Ohio the heart of it all.
Right.
And I was meant to help bring the heart back to Ohio.
Okay, let me hug it. The park was neglected for a lot of years. There was HUD money from the government to build a playground, $190,000. And the city almost lost that money because they had a time limit, and they didn't know where they were going to put that playground. And they weren't thinking about Nemisilla Park. People were saying, why are you going to put that playground there? That's a bad area, no one wants to go there. But I kept saying, we don't run from darkness, we flood it with light. And we did get that playground there. It's actually the largest play area in the city of Canton. It's all handicapped accessible. And it did really change the dynamic of the park. I talked with a woman who said 2 years ago, I never would have brought my kids here, now I bring them here every day. But the first thing we did when we started the revitalization process in 2009 was to plant this garden in what used to be a fountain bowl in the park. Which is interesting because there's a scripture, Solomon 4:15, it says, a fountain of gardens, a well of living waters. So how strange that we planted a garden in what used to be a fountain bowl in a park that actually is situated on top of one of the largest freshwater aquifers in the world. So this was taken on the day that we planted this. These were actually dancers from Living Fountain Dance Company. Just seemed like a perfect way to christen it, a fountain of gardens, so well of living waters. And then in 2010, we had these kids from Northern Ireland, the Ulster Project, plant a garden behind the gazebo in the shape of an infinity symbol to represent infinite peace. Unfortunately, the bench came up missing, so that space was actually mowed over last year. And I'm telling the park board, look, you can't mow over infinite peace, you know? And if you do, you're essentially mowing over everyone and everything connected to it. Now, they couldn't see that. They couldn't see the connections the way that I do. But this is something that I was having a conversation with my grandmother the other night, and I said, if you don't see God in everything, how can you see the links between things? But I tend to see the links between things. So I stood as a, to make sure that this was reestablished, and the last park board hired an outside consultant group, paid them $90,000 to tell us what we should do with our parks without really engaging the community. But the day they had the master plan review meeting, this perfect rainbow appeared over the park. So I was like, master plan, yeah, that's it. See, that's what I'm talking about. It's all inclusive. That's what that rainbow represents. Whenever the rainbow appears in the clouds, I will see it and remember the everlasting covenant between God and all living creatures of every kind on the earth. Genesis 9:16. Now, Matt will remember the day that we actually watched a movie here, and I had copies of this picture wrapped up in aluminum foil. Aluminum foil, interestingly enough, is very plentiful in the world and almost has no value at all perceived. That we actually cover our plates with it and then crumple it up and throw it away like it means nothing. But there was a time, say back in the courts of Napoleon, when everyone ate from plates of gold except for Napoleon, who ate from a plate of aluminum, which was actually at that time more valuable than gold. Until one man named Charles Martin Hall, born in Ohio, the heart of it all, figured out how to extract aluminum from common dirt. But the night I was here and I had this wrapped up in aluminum foil, we got done watching the movie and I said, oh, I have a gift, and who wants to open it? Guess who opened it? Not knowing what was in the gift. Genesis. She just said, I will. And her name is Genesis.